Hey there, everybody. Have you ever taken a public bus? If you haven't, then you're a very lucky person. Much more than me, because last year I had to take a public bus to school, and it was not very good. So my high school is in an area that has a public bus stop at it, and my house is also in an area that has a public bus stop at it. So my school figured out that because of these two factors, they could save money and just give the people in my neighborhood public bus passes instead of giving us a school bus. Which in the end makes sense, but just because it makes sense doesn't mean I have to be happy about that choice. It makes sense for one to need a fishing license to fish and for there to be a law against fishing on private property. But am I happy about that? Not at all. My first time taking the public bus was going home on the first day of school, which I already made a video about, but to summarize it, I got left by my first bus, had to wait half an hour for another bus, had to navigate through a sea of crosswalks to get to a speedway, and I got home right before a severe thunderstorm hit. So after that experience, I was not exactly thrilled that I had to take the public bus for the rest of the year. On the second day of school in the morning, I got to my bus stop, only to realize that my morning bus stop was completely empty. I was the only one there, and this may sound good, which it was, but the con of this, however, is that there was no shelter at this bus stop, and it was next to a large dip in the road. Hello? Does anyone have an umbrella I could borrow? Oh yeah. Now, even more surprising, when I got on the bus in the morning, barely anybody was on the bus, which is very strange to me because on the first day of school, it felt like the entire country of Denmark was on the bus. This glimpse of hope in the morning gave me hope that the bus ride home would be similar, possibly pleasant, but nope. After school, I waited at the bus stop for 10 minutes, the bus showed up, I got on the bus, but then I realized that standing on a public bus is allowed. I thought it was against the safety rules or there were laws preventing standing because I had only ever taken school buses and you're not allowed to stand on those, but apparently standing on a public bus is just something that you must do. And unfortunately for me, my bus driver doesn't exactly take it easy on turns, so while standing it felt like I was a sea captain whose wife was about to be a widow. Can I use the window for a second? When I got home on the second day of school, I was in even worse shape than on the first day. And on the first day, I ran 3 miles holding 4 Slurpees. But hey, what are you gonna do? I can't just poof everyone at the bus stop away. That's surely not legal. Luckily for me, the mornings were fine, but I just had to accept that intense seasickness and waiting was going to be my new reality on getting home from school. Until one day I was looking in the distance, and I saw another bus stop that the bus went to first, and I thought, man, I wonder if I can run to that bus stop. The rest of the day I began thinking about that bus stop. Sure, it was a quarter mile away, I had a 20-pound backpack on, and I only had 8 minutes to get there. But if I did manage to get there, I would not have to feel like I was on a bouncy house every time I wanted to get home. I don't know if the pros outweigh the cons here, but the only way I could find out was trying. So on the next day after school, I began my run over to the other bus stop. Hello. I did it! I made it to the bus stop and I was able to get on the bus. Now granted, I was sweating out of every possible area of my body because it was 90 degrees, but still completely worth it. It was one of the smartest choices I ever made. After that day, I began running to that bus stop every day after school. Now granted, in the summer and fall, this running was quite an easy feat to complete, but in the winter it was a different story because Michigan is not exactly known for being the easiest winters. So this change in seasons brought up a bunch of other challenges for me, like having to avoid snow, and having to make sure I can see in snowstorms, and having to watch out for ice. These factors made it so I often had to run in school the minute we got out, which made me look really strange to passerbys. Once winter ended though, I had a whole new problem, because in the spring more and more people began to start walking. Now back in the fall and winter, some people began doing what I was doing, but these people were cool, because they would often tell the bus driver to hold the bus if someone was still getting there, or scout out ice ahead. Don't step there. Why? But these new people weren't cool. It was like groups of 5 people, and they were the ones causing the problems at the original bus stop in the first place. One of them even began taking his bike to the stop, and to my knowledge, that was his only reason for taking his bike to school, and then he took years to get that thing on the rack, so we were all just stuck waiting because this dude couldn't walk a quarter mile. Luckily, it's now summer, and I don't have to deal with this whole running fiasco, and I can just relax and be happy. But was this running fiasco worth it throughout the year? Yes, it was, and I plan on doing it and continuing it next year. Thanks for watching.